Welcome everyone to the GeeksnBarbells Podcast, episode 2, which is not that exciting. Exciting, I don't know. Is an episode 2 something to get happy about? I am not sure. What's important though is that I am exhausted. It is 6:30 in the morning over here in Ho Chi Minh City, and I will be leaving tomorrow to Bali for the first time, so that's kind of exciting. But more importantly, we are going to talk about creativity and how that can tie in together with concepts of health, fitness, and when we're talking about creativity, I mean creativity overall. The creativity that goes into making a game, playing a game, creating art, whether it's painting, drawing, creating poetry, such as kind of poetry I make. I'm not a drawer or a painter. If I can even manage a stick figure on a good day, it's an exciting day. It really is. So, what is creativity? Well, creativity is the ability to come up with something new. And when we say new, we don't mean new, completely new, because anyone who has any general concept of the world and history understands that most things that we come up with these days are not new. They've already been created before, or at least the general concepts of them. In the sense that if you come up with an idea, so if you take something like a laptop or a webcam, like I'm using right now, they are actually a conglomeration of ideas. These are things that have existed in one state or another beforehand, and before that, those original pieces, or however you want to say it, those came from other smaller ideas as well. Now, there have been moments in the world where an idea was mainly new, was actually just wow, brand new. But those have existed only in a few moments of history, and that was quite a while ago. There's very few things that are completely new ideas in and of themselves. They're just a conglomeration of former ideas that have come together into something new, so to speak. So that is creativity. It's the ability to connect ideas and formulate new ones out of those base ideas. And that could be something as simple as, you know, I I don't know. I read a couple of books. You know, I read Lord of the Rings. I read Stormlight Archives. I read The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It could be whatever. You read a whole bunch of different books, and different people told you different things. They told you different historical ideas. They share different fantastical ideas. They share different action ideas. They share different modes of thought and being, and that all merged together into a short story, a new book of yours, a new creative project that you came up with. So that's how it can come out in books. I mean, obviously in art, when you're talking about drawing or painting, coming up with a new character design or a background that came into your mind because of things you saw, things you heard, things you read, all these things are creative works. And of course, the actual act of creating is really the foundation of creativity. I mean, the moment you start to make something, you are being creative. And now, being creative in that sense means it can come out of anything. So it could be a physical endeavor as well, creating a dance, pulling off a new move, making a new exercise, and even doing those exercises well. So the simple act of squatting, there are a multitude of ways of squatting, and simply linking one squat to another, such as a transitionary state, anything like that, is being creative. You're creating a new thing, or an old thing, however you want to call it. So creativity bleeds into the physical and the mental, and they're connected. everything is all connected. Sort of, people need to understand that if you want to be a creative artist, um, and when I say creative artist, I'm talking about in any field, whether the physical, the mental. If you want to be a creative artist, if you want to be someone who is going to be really, really pushing themselves to make connections, to formulate new ideas, to come up with new ways just within your own life of expressing yourself, you need to set the environment for it. Now, there's some people who say, you need to flow free, you need to just let the universe come through you, and then it will come out. And I understand what those people are trying to get at. It's a little bit of a hippie idea, it's a little bit of a spiritual idea, and it makes sense to a degree, because when you create, there is a big facet of it that's not really you. It's just you being the conduit for whatever is going to come out of you. When I write poetry, I don't really consciously think what I'm going to write most of the time. Most of it is initiated by a single quote or a line or a word that just pops into my head while I'm taking a walk, or I'm listening to a podcast or a talk or a video, and all of a sudden something someone says, just that one word triggers, and then from there, boom, I get a flow, usually a sentence or two. And from there, I can push it, like just sit with it, and then the words just come out. And so that is you being a conduit. But at the same time, that environment that initiated the cascade, that was me focusing. I made a choice to watch a thing, to listen to something, to take a walk, because I know that it triggers those moments. Because these things, even though I'm talking about it's the energy of the universe, whatever you want to call it, for the reality is it's my subconscious. It's that brain within my brain that I don't really have access to, not in a conscious way. And what we talk about when we talk about creating a healthy environment for those things to happen is that you want to be in the best state possible to be open to those things. Now, there's some really interesting information out there when you think about people talking about flow states. So there's people like Stephen Kotler, Jason Silva, psychedelic work happening right now. So you hear a lot about the interesting work on MDMA, ayahuasca, San Pedro. Like there's some really, really interesting people out in the world doing much more scientific studies and work on these kinds of flow states and creativity and really being in the moment and really having deep, deep work. I'm not smart enough to get into that kind of stuff, so I'd much rather point people in the direction of those people. They're super fascinating, really, really philosophical and interesting, and they will expand your horizon. So, like I said, Stephen Kotler, Jason Silva, the people from Maps, like super, super cool stuff. But there's other ways of looking at it outside of say a flow state. You just have to think of it from a biological standpoint. Okay, you need to be functioning well to produce good work. Now, can you make good work while treating yourself like trash? Absolutely. You will still have creative moments, have moments of ecstasy and idea making, all sorts of stuff. Even if you're smoking 3 packs a day, eating McDonald's all your meals, never getting enough sunlight, all these things will happen. It can happen. But you'll also feel fucking miserable. And there's a lot of concepts, and this we're talking more in the art world, of like the despairing artist, the suffering and just anger and just sadness that you need to have to produce art. And there's something to that to a degree, but you don't need to be a miserable sack of shit to make art in any shape or form. I'm for anyone who is interested. I mean, if you think about the gaming world, I'm pretty confident that the people developing amazingly beautiful works of art in our games, they're not sitting there crying or like hating their lives while producing this. No, this is something, a joy. It's something cool. And that same mentality of it just being this awesome world that we can make, this fantastical world, it's the same concept and feeling that you want to take into creating a book or a piece of art, like a drawing or a painting, or if you're writing poetry. Now, there can be sadness again. There can those feelings exist within human beings. We're always going to have them. It is a state we have. You cannot be happy at every moment. You cannot be joyful. This is something I've explored on my website now. I've been for the last 43 days now. I've been writing a little joy of mine every day, and it's been difficult because yeah, you do exist in a quite a constant state of irritation, frustration, sadness, sometimes depression. Those states come out a lot more. It's so much easier to fixate on the negative, but you have to be aware that there is moments of joy, moments of happiness, moments of just pleasure, and they fluctuate in and out of your day. You're in this constant flux where you're going back and forth between these states, and how many times you're going to flow into that state of pleasure. And I mean good pleasure, not the I feel like shit so I'm eating ice cream kind of thing. I'm talking about like genuinely getting into a state where you feel at the very least neutral, just good, comfortable with yourself, with what you're doing. Well, a huge amount of that comes from the environment you've created for yourself. And you are going to be way more productive feeling good than you are going to feeling bad. This is just simple, basic logic. I mean, anyone who thinks they're getting more done because they feel like shit, it's because they've let themselves sink into their negativity, and they think that they need to use that as a fuel. You can use anger as a fuel. You can use sadness, but only if the environment has been created so that you are in the right mindset to pull yourself out of it. Otherwise, you're just going to sink into it, and then you're going to get lost, and then you're not going to do shit all. You're just going to be on your bed, curled up in a ball, going, you need to create that right environment. What is a right environment? Now, everyone's different. Some people function well in the morning. Some people function well in the afternoon. Some people function well in the evenings. You need to figure out what is the best time and place. What triggers you to be in these positive states of mind? Is it being surrounded by trees? Is it having a little river trickling by you? Is it the ocean? Is it the beach? Is it just having a really beautiful place at home? Is it having like a really nice desk that you love with just the right setup and everything is organized? I am someone who truly believes in minimalism, in having just the least amount of materials around you that you need to bring you into a focused state of being, and that means having really beautiful art, or just the table itself, or just one plant, like whatever it is that you need to do to set up that environment for your brain. That could be that the entire apartment is filled with plants. Maybe you need to have that set up. I think people can kind of intuitively understand this concept of how to like organize their environment to make it so that they just feel cozy and comforted and inspired. And for some people, it's a bit of a messier environment, but there's sort of like an order to that chaos, and that's fine also. Whatever works for you. And then when you talk about yourself, your own individual body, your biology, what's going to be, well, again, everyone's different. I'm not going to go into a talk of nutrition too much or exercise in this podcast, but it's the general sense that you need to find a way of eating and moving, because these are important things. So making sure you fuel your body enough, so you need enough calories to actually function in the day. Many people don't eat enough, or they overeat. But many times when people overeat, they overeat junk. Okay, so then when they cut out that junk, well, they tend to undereat then. This happens a lot to many women. I've had it happen a lot with clients in the past. Females to be like, but I eat so much, and it's just because they ate like birds, and then basically train themselves to undereat. And because they went and binged on junk food once or twice a week. In their heads, because of the way culturally we view junk food and whatnot, they'd be like, I eat so much. I eat like 3 hamburgers here and there. But the overall caloric content of their week was very low. And so because they still carried a bit of fat or whatever, they in their head thought that they ate a lot, but in reality is calorically they were not fueling their brain, they were not fueling their body. So you need to watch it, you need to be aware of that. There's many things that go into that. I'm not going to get into it right now. After that is part of the reason why we need to make sure we eat enough is, are we getting enough vitamins? Are we getting enough minerals? Is your body basically getting the nutrients it needs to actually produce the hormones, the neurotransmitters that you need to actually feel good in your brain? Because that happy feeling, that I feel good, a huge amount of that comes from basically your body's ability to create these hormones and neurotransmitters. Otherwise, you're not going to feel shit. You're just going to feel depressed all the time because your body cannot produce the chemicals you need to feel good. So you need to make sure you are fueling your body well. Part of that fueling means getting to sleep at a decent time. What that means for you is up to you. But generally, most studies say before 12 o'clock, you want to be in bed. Most studies show that you need at least 2 hours before bedtime to tone down. That means shutting down lights, getting off electronics, or at least having filters on them, like F.LUX, flux for computers, or the blue light blockers on your phone. Getting away from those things, not being overstimulated. Read, meditate, relax, do some gentle movement. Whatever you need to do, talk with your partner, listen to a podcast, calm down an hour or two before bed. Have a relatively pitch black room, decently cold. You want to basically set the environment for your body to get a good night's sleep. And that means going to sleep at about the same time, waking up at about the same time every day, having this pattern of sleep that never allows the system to create a routine. And a lot of what I'm talking about now when I talk about environment, external and internal, is routine. Is your body being fueled routinely? Is it getting a decent amount of sleep routinely? Is it having an external environment that gives good inputs on a routine basis so that it understands that it's in a safe place, it can relax, open up, and just flow? And so that's what you want. But again, talking about movement, you want to move a lot. The brain and the body need lots of movement. That does not mean going to the gym. It means moving. Walk around. Move your body. You gotta move. Not only is that extremely good for your health, obviously, your lymphatic system, the glands that run through your entire body to actually get toxins out, they need you to move. It's not like your heart, which pumps all by itself. Your lymphatic system, which moves all the crap out of your muscles, your cells, everything, needs you to walk around and move your body. Otherwise, you will not get rid of toxins. Otherwise, if you're sitting all the time, you are sitting in a vat of toxins that is not getting out of your system. That's what's happening. Okay? And you get better blood flow, oxygen flow, nutrient partitioning. All these things happen. You get better insulin regulation, so your blood sugar gets basically functions better when you're moving a lot. So for people who are really, really productivity minded or focused on better work, better art, better creativity, better gaming, better training, better exercise, doesn't matter what your focus is, the more you move around, the better your system will function, the better cognitive function, hormonal function, and physical capacity you will have to put energy towards those tasks. So you gotta move around. You can't just be sitting all day long, staring at your computer, staring at your piece of whatever it is. You can't just be doing that all day long. You are not going to last. This is a machine that needs to be well oiled, and if it isn't, you're gonna bleh. You're going to feel like crap, and you're going to be losing out on who knows how much percentage of work capacity because you did not take care of yourself. And so this is the idea that for those of us who wish to be creative, you need to intertwine these two facets of your life. There needs to be an understanding of taking care of the body, because the body and the mind are interconnected. They are the same thing. They are symbiotic. They work together. So get some good sleep, move around, take care of your nutrition, whatever works for you, okay? And then set your environment. Do whatever it is you need to do to bring beauty and inspiration and motivation into your work. Because even if you take the best care of yourself physically, if you are in a constant environment that you hate, if you hate your workplace, if you hate the people you're around, if you hate the literal environment that you're in, if you hate the way your apartment looks, if you hate the way, if you don't like the nature that's around, if everything makes you feel bleh, if you don't feel good living in the place that you live, working in the place that you work, being around the people that you're around, well, guess what? It doesn't matter how healthy you make yourself, your brain is gonna feel like shit. Okay? All those things, again, intertwine. It's the environmental inputs you put in and the environmental inputs you're pushing out. They come together. They work together synergistically. If one is off, if you have a miserable fucking life, you are not going to function well. And now, this is easier said than done. All of this is hard work. Okay, and I'm speaking obviously not to just people who want to be creative. This is just people in general. You know, at the end of the day, the only person who can make your life better is you. I'm really someone who believes in self-responsibility. As someone who came up with a bit of a rough life, like I had a great life comparatively to a big chunk of people who've had bad lives, but I had an unpleasant upbringing, and I was in depressions for most of my childhood and my teenagehood, through most of my 20s, and I still go through those large periods of time, and it's my own fault because I let myself sit in it. I let myself be in the place that is creating, or sorry, not necessarily creating, but making me go back into those negative thought modes. If I hang out with people who don't bring out the best in me, if I spend time with family members who are not good for me, okay, who there's so much negative associations with them and they still have those negative aspects of themselves and they bring out this bad part of me. If I work in a place that's just bad for me, I've switched jobs so many times because of this. And it's hard because I've constantly jumped jobs. uh, I didn't make a lot of money. I lost out on lots of opportunities, but I didn't stay in a miserable place that made me unhappy. So there's a balance of what you want to lose. Like there's a lot of people who stay in shitty fucking jobs because they're terrified. Because let's say they have to take care of family, they have to take care of themselves, they need to make money, they're worried about this, which is understandable, but you need to make that choice. Do you want the security of money or do you want your sanity? you know, you need to balance that out. I've had to, make my way through it. Now, I've been lucky enough, if I still have, my family is relatively fractured all over the place. I've had places of safety that I could go to when I made these choices. So I've been blessed enough that when I dumped something, I always knew that I could crash on my mom's couch. You know, as rough as my relationship is with my father, I always knew that he would back me up if I was really in the shit. Okay, so I've had that opportunity. Now, everyone needs to be realistic with their own opportunities, but that doesn't mean if you don't have family to back you up, if you don't have friends to back you up, whatever is your situation, that does not mean that you cannot start working towards creating a place of safety for yourself that you can then try to give yourself some wiggle room to make better decisions. You have to think like this. You have to, because if you just live in the negative, you just go, well, life is handing me this and I'm just fucked about, well, then you're never going to pull yourself out. You're just giving up. You're basically just giving up. And if you have a goal, if you have something that you'd much rather be doing, something that would bring you a better mindset, a happier life, then you need to start working towards that goal. And it could be just little things. It could be, I'm gonna go to sleep and wake up at a better time. It's little changes to your life that you can slowly build on, and it might take 5 years to get where you need to go, but that's 5 years at least you have accomplished a a set of it's basically a set of accomplishments as you work towards the thing that is going to make you be happier. And once you get there, guess what? There's going to be 50 other things that you need to keep doing to keep on that path. But at least you're on the path. And that's what matters, is that by taking responsibility, regardless of the external things that happened that you had no control over, that made these things just happen, you still take it upon yourself. Acknowledge the fact that your situation was shit. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't be unhappy about it. You're allowed to feel emotionally like that it was shit and that it's unfair, and you can be sad, but then you need to take it upon yourself and go, this is my life. This is what I have to deal with. This is what I have to do to slowly build myself out of it. Because if you want to be the kind of person who can look in the mirror and be, I did the best I could, and feel good about that, then you need to take that responsibility. Otherwise, you just sink yourself into your negativity, and then you're stuck there, and then it's not anyone else's responsibility to pull you out of it, unfortunately. The world is not mommy and daddy. They're just not. The world has no responsibility to us. The countries that we live in don't have to take care of us. These are all just things we made up. We made up the concepts of democracy and socialism and all these things that you hear all over the web, and everyone's arguing with these things. These are just made up concepts. They're not human rights. They are made up concepts. You could call them a human right in the sense that us humans made up these things called human rights, and now we want them, which is fine, but it's kind of the same concept. Whereas a country is kind of taking responsibility for itself. It's self-responsibility, and saying, well, if we're going to be a country, this is what we should stand for, because otherwise we're never going to pull ourselves out of this negativity. We have to aim for better. That's basically what you need to do on an individual level. And you need to basically go to yourself like, yes, I can just do whatever the fuck I want. I could just be a lazy bum. I could sink myself in negativity. Or I can take this upon myself and say, I deserve better. I want better. And I don't care how shitty everything has been so far. I'm going to take it all in, and I'm going to go, fuck it, I'm stronger than this, and I'm going to slowly work my way out. So you can think of it as your own individual rights. What are the rights you feel like you should have, and then it's up to you to work towards it. And if you want to be the kind of person who is a creative force in the world, who creates beautiful things, who makes beautiful things, even if only for yourself, then you need to take responsibility for that. You need to make sure that the environment you create within and the environment you put yourself and place yourself in without matches that goal. And you need to work towards it one step at a time. Maybe you can't change your external environment right now, but you can change your internal environment. And the more you change your internal environment, the more energy you'll have to focus on changing your external environment. And you can make these small, subtle changes day after day, week after week, month after month, until 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're in a completely new place, and you are able to bring really cool and impressive artistic endeavors and physical endeavors, all this stuff to the world, and share it with us who get to see your cool shit. And that will mean that you've made the world a better place. Because when other people get to see your journey, your really interesting thoughts and ideas brought to life into reality, you're making the world a better place. Because the meaning that the world has is really the meaning that we give it. And when people make cool art, when they do cool stuff, well, it's just a cooler place. And that's all the meaning we can really give to it. Just make it a really cool spot. Hopefully a nicer one. So yeah, that's my little rant on creativity, art, and just the general mindset that you need to have to succeed. And, I understand the struggle. That's part of my journey right now. It's the reason I'm starting this podcast, doing my art, writing is so that I can figure this stuff out alongside you. So this is a journey we're taking together, and hopefully it goes well. So thanks for listening. This is the end of Geeks and Barbells Podcast episode 2. It's a wrap, and I'll see you in the next video. Remember, stay healthy, let your geek freak fly, and that's about it. Bye, everyone.